Most of today's shops elect to replace defective master cylinders with rebuilt units because it saves time and is less expensive than rebuilding them in the shop. To replace the master cylinder, first remove the fluid from the reservoir using a turkey baster or similar bulb-type siphon. Be careful not to get brake fluid on any painted surfaces, as it will quickly damage the paint. Then use a flare nut wrench to disconnect the fittings on the brake lines at the master cylinder. Cap the disconnected lines to prevent air from entering the system. Unbolt the master cylinder from the power assist booster or engine wall and remove the master cylinder. To bench bleed a master cylinder, pick up an inexpensive one-man bleeder kit at your local parts store. Install the fittings from the kit into the threaded master cylinder outlet ports. Attach the clear plastic hoses to the installed fittings. Put the body of the master cylinder in a vise and make sure it is level before clamping it down on the mounting flange. Do not clamp the body of the master cylinder in the vise, as it may damage the internal components. If the reservoir from the old master cylinder has to be transferred, pry it off in the center using a large block of wood or wedge to avoid damaging the plastic reservoir. Lubricate the reservoir seals and the receiving bores of the new master cylinder with clean brake fluid and install the reservoir. Fill the reservoir to the correct level with new brake fluid. Route the clear plastic hoses from the outlet fittings to each reservoir and clip them in place using the supplied clips. The hoses must remain submerged in the brake fluid during bench bleeding. With the hoses in place and submerged, use a wooden dowel or a number 3 Phillips screwdriver to slowly push the input piston surface to the end of its travel. Then slowly allow the spring pressure to push it back. Continue the procedure between 10 and 20 more times until there are no more visible air bubbles coming through the plastic hoses. Then lightly tap on the bottom of the master cylinder with a light open-end wrench as you push the dowel inward with 5 to 10 quick strokes that move the piston about 1/4 of its travel. This will free any trapped air in the system. Remove the plastic hoses and clips and cap the fittings. Reinstall the master cylinder, making sure that the push rod is centered in the input piston. Most master cylinders will not bolt up flush with the booster or engine wall if the push rod is off-center. Remove the bench bleeding fittings and reinstall the brake lines. Finish by bleeding the brakes if necessary to remove any air that may have entered when the brake lines were open to the atmosphere.